the public about science is really important, and that the public have a greater understanding of what scientists are saying, and trying to capture it in a relatively simple and straightforward way, because I'm not a scientist and I have a duty to know more about science, but I also think scientists these days need to, you know, if only for me, make it a bit more simple and straightforward. So I see public communication in science as a really, really important part of what we do. And also we're trying to grow our science work in Egypt as well. We want to get more early career researchers from Egypt to the UK and from the UK to Egypt. And science, I think, will become a big priority for the British Council going forward.
Yes. So the next milestone is going to be the 12th of April, where the competition is going to be held. How many competitors do you expect in this the final competition that's going to be held as a local one or a local competition?
We have all of the heats. So we have Zamalek was over the weekend. We have Alexandria coming up. We're at the Sawi Cultural Wheel, and we're also at Ain Shams University. And then we have about 8 to 10. I think the final number needs to be decided depending on the quality of the applicants.
From each location?
From each heat. Yes. Yeah, each heat produces a number of winners. And so 10 people maximum will go to the national final. On the April the 12th, we're going to announce the venue.
And have you just said that the Egyptians, you have Egyptians running up to the almost to the top at the final competition, or how have they been performing?
Years, they performed very well. I have a list here. I have some names here, but we know that they've made it through to the semi-finals or the finals in the international competition.
Okay, so there have been actually Egyptians who've gone up to the semi-final,
but they haven't quite won yet.
So it's the first place.
So when they go to Cheltenham this year, which is a beautiful part of the UK, our hope is that they will win, and that Egypt will be able to, you know, say we are the FameLab international champions.
Let's hope for that.
Let's hope for the best.
Definitely. Absolutely.
So, in general, how are you looking at the progress of students and their interaction with this part of research and development, which is something really important, light also of what's happening in Egypt, which is very challenging for these students to come up with brilliant ideas, creative ideas in light of what's happening in Egypt?
Yeah. We know that there's a huge number of young people in the higher education system. We know that there are large numbers of research initiatives within institutions, within the research councils, within the universities. The big challenge for every country is how you connect the research to economic output and success. So how do you make those links? For us, where we can make a difference is by putting early career researchers in contact with the UK. So we have a memorandum of understanding that we've just signed with the Scientific Development Fund here, Science Technology Development Fund, and we're investing some money, and they're investing some money in getting groups of young Egyptian scientists going to Nottingham University and to Newcastle University, and then to come back here, because we think if we get researchers early on and make those links early on in their career, then that will help benefit the research output of Egypt, and then we'll make an economic contribution, because it has to make a social economic contribution as well, not just research for research's sake.
And also, if you can tell us maybe what are the upcoming initiatives, anything new coming up from the British Council again?
Well, there's always something new. I think I mentioned last time we just started teaching again in Alexandria, so we're teaching English. Our sports programs continue. We are looking to build our science program and considerably build on that. Just this week we had a huge ceremony at the British Ambassador's residence to recognise the achievements of young people taking the Cambridge exams, and they do that through the British Council. So we're coming towards the end of a couple of our projects now, but what we want to do and what we are doing is starting to really hand over some of the legacy and build sustainability into our sports programme, and we are looking to really build our science programme in quite a big way. So we'll come back to you and tell you more about that. I can't really say too much about that at the moment, but I'll come back and tell you. But it's always busy and it's always exciting. I mentioned, I think last time I talked to you about Cairo Calling, which is the shabby hip-hop musicians going to London to work with musicians in the UK. Well, that went brilliantly, and those musicians from the UK are coming back to Cairo. They're going to come back to Cairo. We're involved in the DCAF Festival, Cairo Jazz Festival. So on the arts front, we're doing a huge amount.
So it's really interesting to see how the British Council is so involved and so active.
Well, I've said this before, Egypt is one of the most important countries in the British Council network. Egypt is a hugely important country to the UK. So that importance is reflected by our investment in what we do, from English to the arts to education.
To the sports, to the science,
Absolutely.
to all the
Egypt's
different...
really, really important.
So part also of your maybe focus and initiatives is to push the UK's certificates, like the IGCSE, for example. And there's a competition between the American diploma and the IGCSE in most of the international schools now. How are you seeing this progress? Because there is a number of schools who has American diploma, one for the IGCSE and so on.
That's a good question, and I don't want to get myself into trouble with the answer. We know that UK qualifications are right at the top. They're world class. We know that over 50,000 Egyptians take a UK qualification in Egypt every year, and that number is growing year on year. All I can say is that if a young Egyptian takes a UK qualification, that is a passport to getting better skills, then hopefully better jobs, and then, you know, through the better job.
And there's also been this new certificate, fairly new, the International Baccalaureate, the IB. How's it in comparison to the British IGCSEs, maybe?
The International Baccalaureate is a much broader set of subjects.
I think it's more, because it involves more activities and more.
But that's taught in the UK as well. I mean, we try not to get into too much competition with our European friends and our American friends. But if you take an IELTS exam, for example, with us, which is a very big part of what we do, you can go and study all over the US. You can go and study all over Europe and into the UK. We talk about quality, and we know that they're world class. And if you take a UK qualification, absolutely, that's an amazing thing to have. You know, a piece of paper to hold.
So an important question also to ask you is about these certificates itself. I think in the UK it's handled a little bit differently in terms of education and the exams than what's happening here in Egypt. In Egypt we have 3 years of preparation and 3 years of testing for the IG, where usually in the UK, I guess it comes sometimes at 1 year.
So when I was in school, which is quite a long time ago, my GCSEs were 2 years.
2 years.
And then I went on to do 2 years A-level, and then into universities. So although everything you do, of course, when you go to school, builds up towards the
but I think it's not really fast since you're in school, because till now it is still 2 years and then you do, but I think instead of 2 years, you do 1 year of A-levels.
Well, the A-levels are different now in the UK because we have AS levels and then what we call A2. So
yes,
the UK system has changed since I was there.
So what's the new system?
So you have what they call an AS level in your 12th year of
which
school.
is equivalent to our A levels back.
And then the A2, which is the next level. I mean, it's all A levels. It's just structured in a slightly different way, and that's a system they've been following in the UK for quite a while now. But I think anybody who takes an IGCSE here, an IA level here, knows that it's a quality exam, and that it's, you know, to get that is a really hard thing to do, and then to achieve success is something they should be very proud of.
Definitely. And I would agree with you because I'm IG, so I was actually the first year.
Well too.
Fantastic.
So,
You're part of the family.
That makes both of us.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I'm very
that explains where the question came from.
Yes. Fair enough.
So we're biased.
No, that's fine.
That's fine. All right. So, what are the other achievements made by the Egyptian participant in the FameLab international competition within the United Kingdom, other than reaching to the semi-finals and finals? What type of experience do you think they have leveraged when they came back with this sort of exposure with a global competition like FameLab?
Well, I think you said it. It's about meeting other people from other parts of the world, seeing the way that science communication, science festivals are run and delivered in the UK. It's about those international connections, and we know international connections are really, really important, particularly for scientists. International collaboration for scientists is an incredibly important part of what they do. So to help them do that early on could then help them later on in their career.
Does any interesting project come to mind? Maybe like an example or anything? Does anything?
I'd have to get back to you on that. I'll write to you.
So okay, that's okay. So it's very interesting, though. Very interesting initiative that you're actually presenting and encouraging the Egyptian youth towards science and technology, which is a little bit of a vacuum here in Egypt. So it's really great that the British Council is coming in and filling in that.
And just one other thing, we'd like to take FameLab into schools, so we want to do a version called School Lab, which gets even younger children interested in science.
So the FameLab that's going on these days is only university?
Yeah, sort of university age.
Okay, so it's not schools yet.
But now we're thinking, well, we've got this great idea, this great
maybe
sort of product.
Move on to schools.
Take it to schools,
Exactly,
absolutely.
yeah.
Right,
finally, so everyone can be a part.
Yeah.
Right. Finally, James Hampson, Deputy Director of the British Council in Egypt, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us. It has been a great pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Now let's move on for this break and we're returning back for more.